Well, it's definitely going to be a lot easier now to, you know, replace the little diverter here, put on the rear cover. I got it off probably around like 2 inches. I still have it hooked up, but like I'll be able to align the actual rear cover, paint some of these crevices, make it look all nice in there. Yeah. That screwdriver is way too big. Yeah, the heck with this thing. This place sells a really good one. Really good one. I'm gonna try to do this with a good enough amount of hands. Very gently. Precise wiggles. You gotta use, I use pre-assembly lube on this piece right here, and then if you ever need to replace it, it has a threaded insert so you can put a bolt in there and pop it out. Okay, I got the cover and I got it on. When you get the cover, this piece obviously comes in here and it helps make like a smooth transition, you know, for the actual crank. You always put like a thin layer of engine assembly lube, oil or whatever on there. This piece helps line it up, you know, to get the seal on. With there not being an oil pan on the bottom of this, you do need to make sure that it's lined up. I have this piece that's for the front part of the front cover, and I kind of use this. You can see that is dead on the money there. Dead on the money there. Like they're actually even, like I double checked here. There not being an actual pan on this block yet, it's fairly easy to line this up. And the seal is actually going to center because the seal is like freaking strong as heck. Slowly put these bolts in, just, you know, finger tight. I didn't run them in with the gun, but I started them. Like they're still finger tight. I promise you it's the gasket that's holding it. And then now we torque it to 18 foot-pounds. So I got the cover on, everything's torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Have to go around it a few times and, you know, just to kind of get the gasket perfectly flat, or to get fully compressed. How this works is like they actually have a tool that I have, and it's to install this cover, but it requires like the rear main seal not to be in, and this piece goes just like that. And, you know, the cover that I purchased from GM comes basically with the seal already installed. So, but if you put this piece over here and look, you can see that it's even all the way around. But you know, that little sleeve and there not being an oil pan on the bottom, it's pretty easy to line this one up. A lot of times what will happen is most folks will have the engine in the vehicle and the oil pan on. They'll pull the transmission, and the gasket from the oil pan will still be on top of the oil pan, obviously. It'll still be sandwiched in there, and that causes some, like, I would call it almost like preload against the cover. So what people end up having to do is they'll slip the cover on, and one of the biggest fatal mistakes that people do is once they pop the cover on, they'll start tightening these bolts. And what they don't understand is that when this cover is on and the oil pan gasket and oil pan is in there, it pushes up against this cover. So what it does is the bottom of this lip, it pre-wears it because it's pushing up. What you're supposed to do is once you get these kind of like started, you know, what you want to do first is you torque both of the lower oil pan bolts. And when you torque them, I want to say, I can't remember the spec. I can't remember if it was like 104 inch-pounds or something weird. But you torque these bolts first. And, you know, before you put the cover on, you put some RTV in the corners, because, you know, or you're going to have like that fatal GM issue to where you like you'll see oil all over your starter and oil all over here, and it'll be rolling down your oil pan. So you put the RTV in there, kind of put it in there on the corners, then put this in there. I like to put a thin layer across the bottom too, on basically what would be the top of the oil pan gasket. And then once you pop this in, you start all these bolts, you torque these first. That pretty much lines it right up and pulls this cover down where it needs to be. Then you can start to tighten these up. But I see a lot of people do it backwards. They'll tighten these first. It'll wear out the bottom of the seal because, like I said, the oil pan and the gasket will push up on it. And yeah, you got to do things in order, man. But, you know, with no oil pan and no gasket, it's hella easy to line these up. Let me see if I can turn the light on. I don't know if, yep, right there. All right, well, let me do it. So, right in there, like right in this area right here, you have to kind of like put almost like a straight edge, and then, you know, something here to keep them even, because if you don't have it, if you have it like cockeyed, you're going to get an oil leak on the high side. But yeah, fun. Okay, so I went ahead and after I got the cover on, got all them tight, I went ahead and I touched up some of the paint stuff that's going to be exposed in the back. Honestly, I cannot remember for the life of me how the passenger rear part of the bell housing is on this one. I can't remember if this is exposed or not, but, you know, who gives a shit? It's going to be encapped either way. I mean, worst case scenario, let's for say that, you know, because I know this side is right here. This is exposed, like all this stuff, because that's how you read the block number. And then this is exposed, but I can't remember if in here is exposed or in here is exposed, and like the bell housing comes up and rides this line. I can't remember. Worst case scenario, if the bell housing comes around here, who cares? It's not going to hurt anything. It's encapsulated in between those two chambers. But yeah, then I try to think I was Picasso. But I was going to paint in here, you know, but realistically, you know, when you start getting into like this area back here where the cam sensor is, like there's a good surface that like comes down in through the top right here, right down in here at the tip of my finger. That's where like the actual sealing surface is. It's not this piece right here, because if, you know, that was the only seal, oil would piss out of this hole right here. It goes all the way down into there. That surface, you see it right there. That's the sealing surface. And I didn't want to get paint all in here and, you know, have it ride down and then hit the freaking reluctor. That would just be a nightmare. But I'm probably going to tap in the dowel pins and call it. All right, guys. I also don't think I touched base on this. So ICT Billet makes this really cool like LS, and it comes with for a few different engines, but this one's specifically for LS and a couple other blocks. But this thing is sweet. Like it bolts directly to, I mean, it has like bolts for other stuff too, different motors or whatnot, but like you get the spacers and everything fits. Like you just bolt the actual engine stand to this billet piece, put the spacers in. There's not a lot of space in there, but there's enough to do something. I mean, I'm not lining up the rear cover with that freaking thing on, and it completely balances it out and centers it. You can move these a little side to side, but I just put them on the outward. Yeah, I think it's actually deadlocked. Yeah, it's completely deadlocked. You could put the bolts on the inside. I'd rather put them all the way on the out to spread out the load. But yeah, this thing is sweet. I got it on eBay. Some dude, I guess, bought it. And you know how some people buy stuff and for projects, the projects never come to fruition. And I got lucky.